Okay, so now I have a container, and now let's go to ECS, how to deploy this. There's also, before we do anything else, there's a very good documentation here for getting started with ECS. So this is the URL. You might AWS Amazon.com, getting dash started slash hands dash on slash deploy Docker containers. This is really useful. You can follow this. It's a good startup guide. And I will guide you through how to do this really quickly. So this is the ECS dashboard. So this is already pushed to the ECS repository. You hear first, what I did first was creating a task definition. And a task definition, in the definition, you just have to make sure that you pick the right architecture. Like if you're on a Mac, make sure you pick that. That's one thing I got wrong. You have to make sure you pass in the environment. Well, actually, I don't know if that's in the task definition. I think it's in the task definition. You pass in the environment variable. And then what else? And otherwise, it's quite simple, and just leave the defaults there. And now, once you have a task definition, you can say actions. No, you can say deploy. Yes, and you say create service. And create service. If you already have a cluster, it can create in there. If not, this gives you the option of creating a cluster. And yeah, so this is how you run it, and then you leave the defaults there. Everything else I left unchanged, I think. Service name here, I call it tax expert service, and I gave you just one. That's the default. So how many you want? I mean, to test, you just want one copies. If it's for production, you would get many replicas of your service. Now, one thing, the way we are using Flask, it's not meant for production. It's meant for development. If you want to use production, please read the Flask documentation. It even writes out for you that this is not meant for. This is not meant for production, it's meant for development. And here too, when we are looking at the number of tasks, one is obviously for development purposes. So you can test. Now, networking, it has some really useful defaults. The only thing I did here was I added my own IP address and allowed access to port 5000. So let's just create this. All right, so it's already running. I think I already run this service. Running. If I go into clusters, text expert cluster, services, yeah, I'm already running this service. So it's already running. Now, if you go in this service and you go into the networking tab, then you see what I mean. In order for you to connect to this, you have to make sure first you get the public IP, which is this little thing here, right? You can copy it like this, and then you copy this into Postman and query it, and issue the prompt, and it's gonna search your model. And the other thing you have to do is there's a security group here. So if I go into networking, if I go into security groups, initially it will just have this setting in there, which is referencing their own security group. What I did was, in order for me to connect to this, I had to add my own IP address, public IP address, as a custom as a custom IP, so I can log into this.